Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a really critical, hidden danger that's honestly lurking in almost every single corporate AI rollout right now. We are talking about a multi-billion-dollar blind spot. If you're building, managing, or frankly, even just using AI systems, you probably think you've got a pretty good handle on what your tech is doing. But as we're going to see, the tools we've relied on for decades to monitor our software, they're completely inadequate for the age of generative AI. There is a massive, massive gap between just watching your AI and actually evaluating if it's doing a good job.
Think about traditional software for a second. For years, we've had monitoring tools that yell at us when a server goes down or when a piece of code throws a huge error. Traditional software crashes loudly. It gives you a stack trace, red flashing lights, maybe an alert on your phone in the middle of the night. But large language models? Yeah, they don't do that. When an LLM breaks, it fails silently and confidently. It doesn't throw a 404 error, it just looks you right in the virtual eye and confidently hallucinates a completely wrong answer to your customer. It spits out perfectly formatted, entirely fictional nonsense. And without the right systems in place, no alarm bell will ever ring to tell you it even happened.
Section 1. A billion-dollar blind spot. The explosive growth of LLM observability. Let's dive right into this. Just look at the trajectory of these numbers. The market size for LLM observability platforms was $1.97 billion back in 2025. This year, in 2026, it's already sitting at $2.69 billion. And by 2030, it's projected to absolutely skyrocket to $9.26 billion. We are talking about a massive 36.2% compound annual growth rate. But here's the absolute most crucial point. Gartner projects that by 2028, observability investment will cover 50% of GenAI deployments. Now, that sounds great until you realize that in early 2026, that number was just 15%. To put that in perspective, it means the vast majority of teams deploying AI today are basically flying blind. They're pushing powerful agents out into the real world without the safety net required to actually monitor what those agents are saying.
Okay, I want to slow down for a second here because this data point might honestly be the most terrifying thing in our entire explainer today. According to LangChain's 2026 survey of over 1,300 practitioners, we know about 57% of those folks are running AI agents in production. But look at this. 29.5% of teams report doing absolutely zero evaluation. None. That means nearly one-third of teams running autonomous AI agents in live production have no systematic way of knowing if the quality of their AI is degrading. They are, quite literally, crossing their fingers and just hoping for the best.
Moving on to Section 2. Tracing versus evaluation. Decoding the black box. To really decode this black box, we first need to define the concept of a trace. So, observability means being able to see what your AI system actually did. A trace is the full recorded sequence of steps for a single request. We're talking every prompt sent, every external tool called, every intermediate step, and of course, the final model output. Now, the good news is that 89% of teams running agents have adopted tracing. It's super common. But here's the catch. Tracing only shows you what happened after the fact. It's fantastic for debugging how an agent arrived at an answer, but a trace alone cannot tell you if that answer was actually good, accurate, or safe.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why static observation is so incredibly dangerous. It's because of a sneaky phenomenon called drift. Drift happens when a model's real-world behavior or accuracy quietly degrades over time. Maybe your users just start asking slightly different questions. Maybe the underlying model provider updated their system upstream and didn't tell you. Or maybe you've hit edge cases your test set just didn't cover. Your AI might be drifting right now, giving slightly worse answers today than it did yesterday. And a basic trace log will never alert you to it because technically the system isn't broken.
So, how do we catch drift? Well, you need evaluation. And evaluation comes in two main flavors, offline and online. Offline evaluation is scoring your model's outputs against a fixed, known answer test dataset before you deploy a change. It's kind of like the final exam before graduation. Online evaluation, on the other hand, is scoring real production traffic as it happens, catching quality issues that live users are experiencing in the moment. The data tells us that while 52.4% of teams run offline evaluations, a mere 37.3% are actually running online evaluations. And that represents a massive, glaring gap in our ability to catch live issues as they happen.
Now, you might be wondering, okay, but how on earth do I evaluate thousands of live responses? I can't just hire an army of humans to read every single output. Well, enter the LLM as judge. This is a super common technique where you literally use another large language model to score the quality of your primary model's output. You basically hand the judge model a rubric, say telling it to check for politeness, accuracy, or whether it cited its sources properly. Now, is it a perfect technique? No, absolutely not. But right now, it is the only way teams can scale their grading process automatically to handle high volumes of live production traffic. Let's jump to Section 3, the tooling landscape, navigating the 2026 market. So if you're looking for solutions, the market is basically split into 3 distinct categories right now, and they don't fully overlap. Over on the left, we've got gateways, like port keys. These are awesome for basic monitoring and routing traffic, but they usually skip the deep step-by-step tracing we just talked about. In the middle, you have eval libraries like DeepEval. These are amazing at scoring outputs offline against your test sets, but they aren't going to watch your live production traffic. And then finally, on the right, we have the full platforms. These try to combine both the monitoring and the evaluation into one package. You've got BrainTrust, which bundles monitoring, evaluation, and experimentation. There's LangFuse, which is a fantastic open source option. You've got Maxim AI, heavily focused on quality. And then you have leaders like Arise, Langsmith, and Datadog, with Datadog being really ideal for teams who want their LLM observability sitting right inside the infrastructure monitoring stack they already use. So with all those options, how do you actually choose? Well, the bar that separates a truly good 2026 tool from just a basic passive logging dashboard comes down to one word: action. A modern tool has to actively close the loop. It can't just show you traces. It needs to actively score those outputs using techniques like LLM as judge. It actively alerts you the second quality degrades. It detects drift across your different prompts and use cases. And honestly, most importantly, it feeds those real-world production insights right back into your development and evaluation cycle. It has to be an active participant in your software's lifecycle, not just sitting on the sidelines watching it happen. Which brings us to Section 4, closing the loop, your action plan. Let's talk about what you can do about this. How do you actually eliminate these blind spots? I want to walk through 3 concrete, super practical steps you can literally take starting today. First off, if you haven't already, just set up a basic trace log for even a simple toy LLM app. I promise you, seeing exactly what gets sent to the model under the hood versus what you assumed was being sent is incredibly eye-opening. Seriously, give it a try. Step 2, build a very small offline evaluation set. We are talking just 10 to 20 examples of questions with known, perfectly good answers. Then, every single time you tweak a system prompt, rerun those 20 examples to make sure you didn't accidentally break something else. And step 3, pick a small project and compare an open source tool, maybe like LangFuse, against a commercial platform like BrainTrust or Langsmith. Just get a feel for the different trade-offs and see which workflow actually fits your team best. All right, that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The era of just launching an LLM into the wild and crossing your fingers is over. The stakes are way too high, the market is moving entirely too fast, and frankly, the tools to fix this are readily available now. So I want you to take a hard look at your own systems and ask yourself, are your AI agents out there failing silently right now, or are you actively closing the loop? I really hope this explainer helps you choose the latter. Keep evaluating, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.